Hey, what's going on, everybody? How are you doing? Happy Monday, everybody. Man, we are about to see Flight 8 of Starship Super Heavy. What's up, Nick? How are you doing? Graham, good to see you. Kaz, good to see you. Dylan, good to see you. Captain Failure, as always. We are just 36 minutes away from this next SpaceX flight of their Starship Super Heavy next generation vehicle. On the screen there in all of its glory is Starship 34 and Booster 15. What is your prediction for this flight? I think it's going to be fine. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. We can definitely talk about all of the upgrades that have been made since the last flight. Doing pretty good, Nick. Thanks for asking. But yeah, so for this particular mission, Starship is once again carrying another set of payloads. Now, they are just dummy payloads. They're essentially 4 Starlink V3 simulators, but we should ideally see a Starlink deployment process, which is going to be really good if it gets it into orbit. Not only that, but just like Flight Test 7, we are going to see another, we should see a Raptor relight in orbit to basically test Starship's ability to then get into orbit. But yeah, this is the version 2 Starship. It's bigger, it's better, it's badder than ever from the Starlink V1. So Starlink V1 ended with what? Ship 32? Yes, Ship 32, because Ship 33 was the official, first debut of the version 2 Starlink's Starship system. And it has quite a number of upgrades. Not only does it have 25% more propellant volume, giving it 300 extra metric tons of propellant. It is also testing new generation of thermal protection systems. It actually now has some active cooling tiles, meaning that they actually flow some propellant through those tiles in order to actually transfer heat away from them. So we have some active thermal protection systems on there. We have a new smart battery network for basically having multiple batteries around Starship to feed redundancy as well as the independent vehicle actuation systems. We have extra Starlink and a new version of Starlink terminals on board, if I'm not mistaken. We have all of the in-space propellant infrastructure for transferring propellant in orbit on this vehicle. It's a lot. There are a lot of upgrades to this. Metric tons, what's wrong with an American ton? Hey, if you want to do that conversion, by all means, but my mind when working with space systems defaults to metric. I'm sorry. Is this static fire or it goes up? Well, if all things go well, it goes up. Yeah, Explorer, or no, I'm sorry, not Explorer. Yeah, Daves, this should be a launch. Flight Test 8 should be a full launch, just like Flight Test 7. So we'll see. We still have 33 minutes. It is kind of up in the air. Propellant load has begun. We are about 10 minutes into propellant load on Starship and Super Heavy. What's kind of wild, chat, is they're essentially filling somewhere on the order of 5,500 metric tons of propellant into the 2 vehicles, right? And they can do that in about 45 minutes. Absolutely wild how fast that they can actually fill that much propellant in there. T0 is 5:45. Yep, that's right. They did push it back from the original set of 5:30. So they pushed it back 15 minutes, right? So yeah, we're still half hour away here from launch. Yep, much faster than Falcon 9. Yeah, indeed. But yeah, so this mission, we are currently in the countdown. The next phase should basically be Raptor chill down. The booster LOX load just started as well at, I think, T-minus 35 minutes. And around T-minus 20, we should start hearing the call out for the Raptor chill down. Basically what that means is that all of the engines on the first stage of Raptor are going to start flowing some of the propellants through it. That gets rid of any sort of air in the propellant lines, and then also quite literally exchanges heat and cools the engine before startup. So that should be effective here in the next 10 or 12 minutes. And then from there, we should have ahead of us a pretty good flight. So on board this mission today, of course, we have on the first stage 33 sea-level Raptor 2s. 33 on the first stage, 3 on the second stage. They're using liquid methane and liquid oxygen. And what's pretty amazing about the Raptor 2 engine is it is a full flow stage combustion cycle. This is also known as a gas cycle, meaning that all of the propellants flow through basically a pre-burner or a combustion chamber before the actual rocket's combustion chamber, and they get partially burned, and that's what spins the turboprops, the turboprops for propellant flow. And then those burned propellants then get pumped into as gas into the combustion chamber where they can mix appropriately, then combust, and we have our rocket engine. So yeah, full flow stage combustion cycle, an absolute powerhouse capable of somewhere on the order of 2.2 meganewtons of thrust. That's 2,200 kilonewtons of thrust, and a whopping 320 psi, or not psi, bar, 320 bar chamber pressure, which is just absolutely mind-blowing, which is why they can have such a massive amount of thrust from such a small, relatively small engine. Remember, this engine produces the slightly less, I'll say slightly less thrust than the BE4 that powers New Glenn, but it's also like half the size of New Glenn. Absolutely crazy what you can do, what SpaceX is able to do with their Raptor engines. But yeah, so pretty much through the entire phase of the flight here that we expect, we should see again a booster landing and catch attempt. We'll have to wait and see if that happens, just like flight test 6, or I guess I should say just like flight test 5, 6, and 7. They basically, SpaceX makes the call and has to actually send a command to the vehicle to actually execute the landing attempt and the catch attempt. So if they don't actually, if something goes wrong or something's out of family or SpaceX doesn't want to even attempt a landing, they just won't send that command and the booster will default to a soft water landing attempt. But yeah, so after booster catch, Starship should then continue on its way into orbit. I believe Starship engine cutoff just shy of orbit. It's on a suborbital trajectory, right? Ends at around 8 minutes and 45 seconds, so it's almost a 9-minute burn. And I think landing should happen basically at around the 7-minute mark is when it should actually be shut down landing in the catch arms if everything goes well. And then we should go through pretty rapid succession from there. Like 10 minutes after Starship starts its coast phase, it should start then doing its payload deployment. The Starlink, the dummy Starlink satellite should go through its deployment exercise. And then from there, another 10 or 20 minutes after that, SpaceX will have Starship reignite one of the Raptor engines on Starship in order to basically simulate and understand maneuvers in orbit. And then from there, we should basically see a Starship landing like another half hour after that. So it should be all in total like an hour and 6 minutes or so of an entire flight for the mission. But yeah, a lot happening, very rapid succession. What's up, Morden? How are you doing? Your streams are so much better than NSS. Well, I appreciate that. I try to give you all of the lowdown that I can from both my background, but also from notes that I have acquired, so to speak, in my mind from a very long time reviewing all of this. But yeah, so that honking beast of a vehicle there is over 40 stories tall. In comparison to the version 1 Starship, it is basically an extra 2 meters taller, and that, like I said, that 2 meters, and they also extended the forward dome section. Let me see if I can pull up a good picture. I know I have this queued somewhere. If I can find it, there it is. Go to my Twitter profile and show a good picture of what I'm talking about in terms of the extension that was done. It's pretty large, Chad. It's a little bit large. Yeah, here we go. So I'll bring this over and we can take this off. There we go. So this is coming from Boca Bingo. He does some pretty great images for each of the missions. And here we can actually see a good diagram of Starship V2. So you can see Starship V2 ends essentially right here, just below the payload bay. Well, this entire forward dome section used to be basically down here, where this section, this barrel segment is. So they stretched it by another 2 meters, and then they also extended the overall dome section, the propellant area, by that amount as well. So technically, and here's the cool thing, technically Starship has less payload volume now just by the sheer like vertical displacement between the aft, or I should say the forward dome segment and the nose where the header tanks are. But technically, because of the redesign of the new flap segments, which are now actually smaller and kind of canted back on the body, so instead of being like exactly on the midsection, they're actually further up and back. It actually increased the overall payload volume. Well, it didn't increase it, but it basically the overall payload volume stayed the same because of how the flaps are now mounted, removed some of the inaccessible areas for payload. So that's really cool. So overall, yes, more propellant for almost the same amount of payload volume, which is actually great. Really good for them. So this Starship is going to melt, right? We'll see. That is one of the things that they obviously want to test here. They actually do. We can actually see it maybe on some of the close-up views, especially if they do some onboard camera action. There are a lot less tiles on the side, right? A lot less tiles on the side. So they're testing essentially a configuration for the thermal protection system as if this was going to go into the catch arms. And if this is going to go through the catch arms, the entire side of the rocket needs to not have tiles, or the catch arms as they close are just going to scrape them all off. So yeah, they're basically min-maxing, if you will, the tile configuration and trying to see, okay, you know, what happens if we remove, you know, 4 lines of tiles? What happens? Is it going to survive? Hopefully. But they kind of need that to work, otherwise they got to figure something else out with the catch tower. Hey, Lava Eagle, how are you doing? It lightens the weight. It does lighten the weight a little bit, yeah. So that's another thing that's going to be tested on this flight, is they do have what's that word, like an appendage, something that's like non-functional appendage. I can't remember, but they basically have non-functional catch pins on Starship. I think I might have a good picture of that somewhere, perhaps. Somewhere, maybe. Bueller. Aha, here we go. This is from NSF as well, which is pretty good source for all of this. Let me see if I can't bring this down. There we go. So let me see. Not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. Oh, that's a good picture of what the Starlink dummy payloads look like. Is this right here? It's basically just a big aluminum plate, or pallet, if you will, to test the deployment mechanism and go through the deployment exercise. Not there, not there. Where is it? Did I skip it? I must have skipped it, chat. You can kind of see them right here, though. That's actually a really good image, very high res. It's right there. So that system right there, non-functional, it's not structural. You cannot use this for the actual catch arm attempt for Starship, because it's not actually connected into anything structural. It's just like bolted onto the side. But they are testing like a placement of where the catch pin would be for Starship. And here's another great view of Starship, this current version of Starship, and how they have basically no tiles from here down. If you can actually see the old placement of tiles, they removed like 5 or 6 rows of tiles here. Basically where the catch pin is now, this appendage for testing, it used to go all the way down. You can actually see all of the holes, or I should say all of the pins where the tiles would connect into. You know how each tile has like 3 mechanical pins that they basically get snapped into? You can see all of those rivets here all along the side where those tiles would have gone, but they were removed. So they've removed a lot of tiles, Do you believe I2, wait, what? Do you believe I2? And yes, of course, absolutely. I mean, nothing tells me otherwise to not believe in it, if that's what you're asking. Check the Discord. Alrighty. Can do. Vestigial. That's the word I was looking for. Vestigial. Thank you. Let's see, general. Ah, thank you. Yes, that's it. That's a good close-up view. Appreciate it. Yeah, also from NSF, from Boca Chica Gal, no less. There you go. But yeah, this is what it's supposed to look like up close. Basically, like I said, it is not actually attached to anything structural. It's just bolted onto the side. But they're using this to test how a catch pin would function thermally. So they have it wrapped in thermal tiles, right? To actually see, hey, is this going to melt off during re-entry? Because that would be bad for reusability purposes. But then also what I was saying, you can see all of these mechanical joints here that look like they've been kind of removed or grinded off. Each one of these used to hold a tile. So each tile basically has 3 of those pins that they get mounted to. And you can kind of see where those tacks were, where they used to be. And so you can see they removed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 rows, 6 columns of tiles from where they used to be on the previous Starship. So pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. There we go. So it does not become a major drag source. Yep. Yes, indeed. Yep, you want it to be aerodynamic. Oh, nice. They're running through. SpaceX always has really good graphics when they do this. So yeah, Starship V2, 52 meters tall. Overall, that is a 2-meter stretch from version 1 Starship. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. This thing is taller than the Statue of Liberty. This thing is taller than SLS by quite a bit, actually. SLS is only like 380 feet tall or something like that. This is over 400 feet tall. So yeah, pretty, multiple stories taller than Starship. Here you can see them talking about the upgraded panels or thermal tile systems. They actually have some that are, like I said earlier, actively cooled, meaning they actually have some propellant that is flowing behind those tiles to take away heat. And instead of them being the same tile material, now that you have an active cooling segment, they can be made thinner and they can be made out of a different material for heat transfer. So they're basically testing an active cooling channel as well, which is really interesting. But yeah, like I said before, they're just going through all the upgrades, upgraded Starlink, upgraded batteries, more redundancy in the battery systems. Oh, what's actually interesting, chat, is this Booster 15 now has some of the same upgrades that V2 Starship has. So on this flight, Booster 15 has upgraded avionics and upgraded power systems, basically creating that same smart battery network that Starship has now. So Starship is now, or I should say Booster is now being upgraded as well, ahead of going into a Booster V2 eventually. So yeah, they're starting to test out those different systems as well. They upgraded the chops. Yeah, they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot with it between every flight. Is it just active cooling or is it a gas blanket? Active cooling. Yep, active cooling. I don't think they're using something like transpiration cooling where they're actually flowing those propellants outside. Because right, transpiration cooling is where you basically use some of your propellant through tiny holes to then create a boundary layer to, reduce the heating on that system. Oh, there's the Starship payloads, the Starlink dummy payloads. I think from what I understand, they're just actively cooled, basically like regenerative cooling. They have cooling channels behind them that allow propellant to, I guess, run through it to cool them off. Is the coolant as opposed to methane dumped after it passes through the cooling channels on the tiles? If so, wouldn't that reduce the payload mass to orbit? It would. So I think it's a regenerative cooling channel. I think it's fully closed cycle. They had 2 different types of cooling systems they wanted to try. Oh, really? Okay. Well, that could be. Sounds like they are working on an issue. A state machine failed to transition. Uh-oh. Well, we'll see. The official countdown is still going, but we will see. I'll go ahead and shut up here, and we'll listen to the broadcast and see about any other updates. I tried to kind of give you guys the rundown of the payloads and stuff on this.
Both on Earth and in
we'll turn it over. Also,
this connects us to the big mission. Let's head back to Chris.
Thanks, Kate. And as fans of Starship may know that Starlink enables us to bring you a lot of those unprecedented views, both from space and on Earth. Personally, I love all those epic views of the plasma wrapping around Starship during re-entry. So thank you to our Starlink teams who enable all of those amazing views and the information we get. Now, in addition to the dozens of cameras on Starship itself, as you see on your screen here,
Nice.
we also have mobile Starlink camera kits deployed in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
That's awesome.
As you're
So
seeing
around the
from a
landing
previous
site,
flight.
they have cameras out there
Starlink
on
also
buoys.
allows us to connect our aerial cinematography units on the ground at Starbase and at other strategic camera spots around Texas and
A
the
possible
world.
hold? Okay,
and
cool.
that's all part of how it comes together
Oh,
to help us
look at
tell the
that.
incredible story of Starship
That's
both
so
on
crazy.
and off the planet.
Man, do you see
thanks
how
to
sooty that boy
thanks to
was and how
Starlink,
charred it
Starship is
was?
now
My
capable
goodness.
of streaming more than 120 megabits per second of real-time high-definition video and telemetry through every phase of flight. This not
Upgraded
only provides those
Starlink.
incredible views of re-entry for all of us,
Yeah.
but also the invaluable engineering data to
I
help
can't
our
believe
engineers
we've been
rapidly
getting constant
iterate
views
across
all the way down
systems
through
of
landing.
Starship. And all of that streaming data today will be put to good use with the more than 30 cameras that are on the
All
vehicle.
right,
for
supposedly
today's
16
flight.
minutes. We'll see if they push it
Now,
back.
Starlink
They have an
is the
hour
world's
window.
largest satellite constellation operating in low Earth orbit to deliver high-speed, low-latency broadband internet. This provides internet access to people around the world, many of whom have never had connectivity before. As of
I know,
today,
right,
Starlink
Morgan?
is
It
serving
really
more than
does.
125
Very
countries,
sci-fi-esque.
territories, and other markets, and has more than 5 million active customers and counting.
What
But
a
to meet the
beautiful
growing
day.
global
What's up, Jane?
demand for high-speed internet, SpaceX recently expanded its factory at Bastrop, Texas, and introduced Starlink Mini as well as an upgraded version of the Starlink standard kit. Here's our first ever look inside our brand new Bastrop facility.
Okay, I'm gonna mute that just in case the music mutes the VOD and stuff. But nice. They're talking about their. That's awesome. Yeah, SpaceX is Starlink production absolutely wild. I mean, if you guys have been following, right, they're building these things at like 1 a day. I think they're actually now at faster than 1 a day, which is pretty crazy. I guess that's what is great about having a pretty much just stamp out design, right? Every single Starlink in terms of batches are pretty much the same. So like, why change it? Why change it? Can't wait for the launch. Yeah, me neither. Me neither. The flight test includes several experiments focused on enabling Starship's upper stage to return to the launch site. A significant number of tiles have been removed from Starship to stress test vulnerable. Yep, cover that. Multiple metallic tiles with active cooling. We'll test additional materials on the sides of the vehicle, non-structural versions. Yeah, okay. Oh, they got rid of the transpiration cooling idea. Yeah, transpiration cooling has its benefits, but they are somewhat limited, especially when, oh man, look at this entirely automated satellite development process. Those are their phased array antennas for Starlink connectivity. Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. Circuit board, layups, and all that stuff. You're so excited for billboards in space? There you go. Why not? I mean, Carl Sagan warned us of that on I can't remember who it was, on a late night show one time. I think it was Carl Sagan saying that there was an idea to start doing that. Yeah, very clean. Very clean. Oh, nice. And they have all the panels for the Starlink panels as well. Yep, all the terminals are developed there, which is pretty crazy. You wish you could work on Starlink production? Indeed. That would be pretty nice. Yeah, I wish they showed more of like the actual satellite development process instead of just the terminals. Because yeah, I'd love to see how they have that. Because like I said, I'm pretty sure years ago they touted that they were getting like a Starlink done a day, which makes sense, right? Because over the past like 5 years, they've launched 8,000 Starlink satellites. So, yeah, they have definitely gotten their production of Starlink satellites down to a science for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far hexadecimal in terms of like stream. What would you call it? Discussion. Try to avoid that here a little bit. But I get the sentiment. Why does the Starlink? Oh, I already covered that. Yeah, Starlink satellites are honestly incredible. Like I said, it really helps with the mass production when your Starlink satellites are basically all the same. You can literally stamp out thousands of them in one batch that don't change between the others, right? And then they upgraded to Starlink version 1.5 after a few Starlink version 1s, and then they went to version 2s, and then version 2 minis, and now they're going to version 3, right? So pretty crazy. Hey, how's Zicken? How are you doing? I have an HSC I'm working on. If you really try, you can succeed. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't think it's ever too late, RJ. I don't think it's ever too late at all. Whether you didn't finish school or not, honestly, it depends on how bad you want it. I mean, it definitely makes things tougher. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I honestly don't think it's ever too late if you really want to get into it. You like your job for right now? Hey, there you go. Beautiful. If you're doing what you like, then there you go. All right, we're supposedly 11 minutes out here. In terms of the overall propellant loading, it looks like we are pretty full, or at least getting full. I hope they bring the diagram off to the side again to show us where the propellant loading is, because they should be, I believe, somewhere on the order of already finishing LOX load. Or very near that. Oh no, the Raptor chill down should have been next, right? Raptor chill down should have been at like T-minus 20 minutes. And then we should have another 8 minutes or so of actual propellant loading. And then propellant loading should be complete after that. So we should see it start to come across here pretty quickly. There we go. So we're 71%, 78% on the first stage, and then 97, 95 on the Starship. Perfect. Beautifus chat, beautifus. Let me see, grab on that, perfect, and then we're gonna kick it back over to them.
The weather constraints for launch today, so it's not perfect, but it's not bad. Visibility also not so awesome. We can see the tower
weather is
here.
go right now, range is go, vehicle is go.
But
so no
visibility
hole,
around
no
the greater area might be a little challenging.
Yeah, in terms of the vehicle itself,
oh,
so right
awesome,
now
RJ.
you
there
can see
go.
we're almost done loading prop on ship, almost done on
There's that
booster.
old adage, right, where if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. So
a flight controller hold going in. So just a reminder, all that means.
When have there been two towers? They've been developing the second tower there for the better part of like the last 6 months. Maybe a little bit longer than that.
An issue on the booster where we think we will.
It's been a plan since like the last several years, but they finally started breaking ground on that last year.
T-40, hopefully. So,
no, Mike, no.
Continuing.
That's Blue Origin.
Holding or anything yet.
Katy Perry is not on this mission. That is Blue Origin's next Blue Shepard launch.
This morning, though, we did all of the usual checkouts, aligned the navigation systems, did all of our booster and ship tank purges, got them ready for prop load, chill down.
How is audio, by the way, Chad? Is audio good?
All the cryo right now.
Look at the flaps. Flaps are going into flight position.
We just did a flap.
There we go, flap control.
We also do a wiggle check out
on wiggle check.
The chopstick arms as well. We are going to continue loading prop for about another 6 minutes.
Look at those beefy actuators, though.
At about 3 minutes, 20
audio
seconds
sounds good. Cool.
Launch booster just about 30 seconds later. So we've had at least one issue that we're still working in the background, expecting that to clear before we hit that that hold gate at T-minus 40 seconds. And
we'll see where we are at T-minus 40.
So bottom line, things are looking good for liftoff here in just under 9 minutes. We're now.
Look how fast the tanks are filling, by the way, Chad. We were just a few seconds ago at like 77 and 71, and now it's
I need to
a minute later, improved by 5% on each side.
1,000 people who work here. Soon to be the newest.
What time is it for me?
4:36. And we're the largest employer in the area. We're always hiring, so visit SpaceX.com.
All right, so we should have another 5 minutes or so of propellant loading. Propellant load closeout should start at around the 3-minute timeline. They should have already chilled down the Raptor engines. If all continues as is, the last big check is T-minus 40 seconds, where they have a go no go poll. Well, not a poll, but a go no go gate.
In our Ad Astra launch control center, about 6 miles away from the pad.
There you go, Mike. Nice.
We'll soon be moving here with us to Star Factory, so a lot of excitement around that.
Oh yeah, once they get cooled off, for sure.
And again, general status check. We're continuing to progress. We're under 8 minutes away. we're tracking an issue with booster or
I
expecting.
mean, we were talking about that
clear.
earlier, Anthony. It's crazy that they can load 5,000 metric tons of propellant in about 45 minutes. That's faster than Falcon 9. It's faster than anybody I know that's working on launch vehicles. It's probably faster than anybody else actually wants to go. But when you have 5,000 metric tons of two cryogen propellants, you kind of need it to go fast, so you're not experiencing a lot of boil off, and you have time to stuff the tanks.
Reignite its engines to slow the vehicle down. Here we see playback from a previous booster catch. I believe that was our first booster catch.
What a good day that was, chat. Man,
catch the booster.
And just like the last few
Flight
times,
Test 5.
literally thousands of different.
What's all the smoke around the rocket? It is condensation. They have big vents. Over here are the recondensers for the liquid oxygen and liquid methane. And those vents are constantly active, and yeah, they're basically chilling down the repurposed methane that they're pulling off the rocket during boil off and all that sort of stuff. And then there's also a vent for the lock system as well. So all of that is just condensation, a cloud. It's fog essentially, because of the propellants are so cold that they're venting off.
And the return will only take place.
All right, chat. On the Twitch side, because we are T-minus 6 minutes, I'm going to run a quick ad break so that way nobody gets any ads during the launch. So should see you guys back here in a few minutes. All right, get that going so nobody gets an ad when it's actually go time.
Similar to sonic booms that were heard during the return and landing of NASA's space shuttle, for anyone that was in Florida for those.
Sonic booms like these are unique to vehicles returning from space and are one of the hallmarks of reusable systems like our Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy vehicles.
My pleasure. My pleasure,
The general
Rob.
impact to those in the surrounding area of a sonic boom is basically a brief thunder-like noise. And I've heard sonic booms before, but I got to experience my first in-person Starship sonic boom on Flight 7.
I'm getting jittery,
and
chat.
I can confirm it's
getting
pretty
jittery.
fun to experience.
Oh, yes. Look at that flaming hot pizza on the bottom of that rocket. If you noticed it, chat, you could have seen the pressure wave go across the ground from the sonic boom. That's hot. Damn. So good. So good.
And as someone who has heard sonic booms many times in Florida, they are definitely a hallmark, and what a way to announce a returning space vehicle's return for reuse. Now, here in California, as you can imagine, the excitement is growing here. The crowd is growing.
So the big test here, of course, chat, is making sure that they get beyond Starship 33's failure point. So if you guys remember, Flight Test 7 ended rather abruptly and unfortunately, where Starship 33 exploded during its ascent into orbit. The reason for that was most likely the new connections made for the vacuum-sealed propellant feed lines from the LOX tank down to the engines. They used to have a single centrally located pipe that was all basically then fed into a reservoir that then fed all the engines on Starship. They since changed that to now separate the vacuum Raptor engines, the 3 vacuum Raptor engines, to have a separate propellant feed line. And it seems like one of those vibrated and shook loose from its connection to the engine, or to the bottom dome structure from the propellant tanks, and then that leaked over time, started a fire. That fire then spread, and then the fire basically got to the point where it was so big and it couldn't be contained because the vents weren't big enough for Starship to vent out those flames and all of the vaporized propellant. It eventually burned through everything, destroyed all of the engines, and then that caused what I believe, if I remember correctly, a flight termination system activation, because it started tumbling from the engines not working. But yeah, so hopefully they have now made basically improved fire protection in the engine bay. So we'll see if that goes. They increased the vent area down there near what they call the attic, basically the top part of the bottom aft dome. They did a like a minute long full blast static fire of Starship on the pad to make sure that any of the shocks and vibes that were created by the engines weren't going to rattle anything loose again. So they've done a lot of testing in between and made a few improvements to Starship for that reason as well. So hopefully they got it fixed. They did discover the root cause of the problem, and we will go today and see a full flight. That would be the dream.
40 seconds and hold there to assess what happened.
It does sound amazing, Kaz. Yeah, indeed.
To T0, but
the rip of the Raptor.
Situations.
All right, so we're just about 2.5 minutes.
You have parts
away.
on this vehicle? Hell yeah, Toaster,
we
nice.
have a couple of things like if we hit T-minus 10
the
seconds
firewall,
and you see water start flowing out of the deflector.
Why wind in kilometers per hour and temperature in Fahrenheit? I don't know.
And then we'll have to refill the tanks
makes no sense.
on both the water farm and the prop farm. Our team's gotten really, really good at
That's awesome, Toaster.
really quick, so we can
Was there an additional
reposition for
video
about a
showing the actual
24-hour
destruction of the last
recycle
flight? Not
if
that I
we
know
need
of,
to,
Anthony,
but,
no.
Speaking of
we're
things,
coming up. We're coming up just under 2 minutes away.
Trying to be more metric. Yeah, I guess so.
T-minus 40-second mark while they still talk through
All
a
right,
couple of troubleshooting
Twitch,
steps.
y'all should be back
But
from
again, if we
the
hold there,
ads.
we can hold there
Should
for
have no
several
ads for the
minutes
next
with
hour.
All prop fully loaded on the vehicle before we can
1 minute,
release the
30
hold
seconds.
and decide to move forward.
We have closeout of prop. We should see the purge if it hasn't already begun. And then at T-minus 40 seconds is the last go, no go gate that SpaceX has built into the countdown.
All right, less than a minute and a half away. Again, keep your eye on the clock. Look
I don't know, RJ.
For T-minus 40. We may hold there.
All right, here we go.
Not a rocket launch.
1
unless
minute.
You're talking nonstop in the background until right before you lift
Hopefully,
off.
it will be the first version
Once
2
again,
Starship
if we
flight to
hold at
succeed.
T-minus 40 seconds, we have an opportunity to hold there for several
There you
minutes.
go, Mike. Hey, you do you,
This
man.
is unique to Starship.
Enjoy
We
the
don't
show,
have this
I hope.
ability on Falcon.
All right.
We're about 15 seconds away. We did just here. We are going to hold at T-minus 40. So look for the clock to pause.
It's a built-in hold.
T-minus 40 as they finish troubleshooting, and then we'll let you know as soon as we start hearing more, and if that clock's when that clock's gonna start rolling.
So they have an hour to launch.
T-minus 40.
So they have an hour launch window here. It started at 5:30. We're only 15 minutes into that window. So if they clear whatever they're looking at and holding for within that time frame for a cycle, then we could still see a launch today. So nothing to panic about yet. But it's a T-minus 40.
We cleared the issue.
There we go. Cleared the
We're
booster
now
issue.
holding for a late breaking issue with ship. So they're talking through that right now.
Okay, so booster's been cleared. Ship is
Dan, you
still
mentioned things that
pending.
we've gotten really good at. It's incredible to think that we just stacked
Yeah,
this
yeah,
vehicle
Philip, I
earlier
agree.
this morning, and we're already, through prop load. Prop load's pretty much complete.
It's just how they
ready
work
to go.
their process.
It's a very slimmed down timeline.
Right, because similar or differently, ULA has built-in holds. Same with New Glenn, right? Well, not New Glenn, but Blue Origin. They have actual built-in holds into their system where they start working problems in that area. Basically, so long as the problem isn't with the fueling part of Starship or like the ground infrastructure of Starship, just go through the point all the way up to where you're ready to launch and then work those problems. And then once you go, your vehicle's in a launch state. So then just go. So it's just how they have built their process out.
Starship flight, if we're able to catch it and bring it back online. So for those of you that have just recently joined us, we have paused at T-minus 40 seconds just to assess and work through a problem that popped up in the countdown. And we are holding here as the teams troubleshoot it. We believe that we have put in a solution and we will be able to proceed. But we have some chatter.
I love the transparency from
that's,
SpaceX.
indicating that we're just holding here for a few more seconds.
We'll wait for that call out.
A great opportunity for the teams. This is unique on Starship. We don't have this ability on Falcon to hold here, partially because there's just so much propellant that it takes longer as a whole for it to cool down with that amount of volume that we have compared
No reason
to
not to be transparent
Falcon
either.
vehicle.
Yeah, especially for certain things like this. Yeah, I agree.
T-minus 40 second hold is pretty cool because basically everything that would have been a
I agree,
scrub,
Raken.
is actually just an opportunity to hold here and work through it. Or I should say many things, not everything. Where, like I said, we're working through an issue now, but we can also pause here for final checkouts or completion of pressurization to get up to flight levels, that kind of thing. So it's a nice feature to allow the team to wait for
the other problem
or,
the other problem with Falcon 9, that's the reason why they can't necessarily do this, is most of Falcon 9 launches are instantaneous. Some have a launch window where maybe they could do something like this, not at like the T-minus 40 seconds per se, but they could still like work a problem and then just push back the launch window. But most Falcon 9 launches now are basically an instantaneous launch window, whether that's going to the International Space Station or their Starlink satellites and things like that. So Rycon, yeah, okay, cool. I think I said it right the first time then. Yeah, severity tense, chat. You can cut the tension with a knife. Rye as in the bread on how, yes, very good. Yeah. We're just waiting to hear back. Again, chat, this is a vehicle that is 40 stories tall, holding 5,000 metric tons of methane and liquid oxygen, set to go into a suborbital trajectory to land on the far side of the world from Boca Chica, Texas, in the Indian Ocean. It is hopefully going to be the successful debut of the first version 2 Starship. I should say the first successful version 2, right? Starship 33 that exploded last time was technically the debut of version 2 Starship. But hopefully this one will be successful, testing a whole slew of technologies necessary to land Starship back on the catch towers in future missions, future tests. Booster 15 is the first of its kind as well. It's still version 1 booster, but it has an entirely new upgraded avionics system and power system using some of the same technologies in V2 Starship.
All right, and if you're just tuning in, we are still holding at this T-minus 40-second gate. We cleared an issue on the booster that we were working up until the hold, still working one on ship, and team still continuing to discuss in the background. We can still hold here for several more minutes. If we're not able to resolve the issue or find a workaround, then we would have to essentially scrub and stand down for the day.
Bummer.
If that does happen, we can go as early as tomorrow, but that clearly depends on
I don't think
what work we might need to do to fix any issues. So just obviously stay tuned. But
I'm not sure if they actually could even go tomorrow if they scrub today, because it takes about a day to fill back up all of the tanks that are used for ground support. But yeah, I'm not sure. Hey, what's up, Bill? How are you doing? Are the launch windows limited because they restrict air traffic?
Engine startup and things like that. That's what generally drives how long we can hold at T-minus 40.
Yeah, he's talking about the hold right now.
As soon as we hear an update on the ship, we will let you know.
Cool. Yeah, so the reason why launch windows are either instantaneous or have a launch window basically is dictated by the launch trajectory. So for example, Starlink, the satellites, are typically designed to go into a very specific orbit. It's a specific latitude, it's a specific altitude, all of that different things, right? Specific inclination.
It's starting to sound like we might have a decision real soon.
All right. And that is usually only achievable at a specific launch time. So that's usually why you have an instantaneous launch window. There we go, chat. Here we go. 30 seconds. Hell yeah. Let's do this. We are go for flight.
So, 30 seconds to go.
Is Super Heavy more powerful than Saturn V? Yes, by a lot.
So we kicked. Psych. No.
Don't play with my emotions, SpaceX, please. Wow. How dare they? How dare they? That was cheap. That was a cheap shot. Did I go to space camp? No, I've never gone to space camp. Thanks for the extra insights on the rocket's been out of loop the past year. My pleasure, Upto. Yeah, definitely love it. I do this for a day job, not this, but I do work in the industry, so I love talking space. I love bringing it to you guys. Come on.
All right, so as we started counting
Bring it back
down, we did trip a few more holds automatically from the booster itself.
Oh, from the booster again. So they cleared booster, waiting on Starship. Cleared Starship, now waiting on booster.
They've got a couple more troubleshooting steps that they can take. If we're able to get through that, we can start counting down.
I know,
again.
right, Philip?
If not,
Indeed.
We could always offload and try again on either tomorrow or another day. But right now, we're not done for the day yet. Still holding at T-minus 40 seconds.
Yeah.
And as soon as we hear some more or start seeing that clock move, you will know if we're going to go for our launch attempt today or if we just try.
Yeah. So what I was saying earlier is I don't know if they actually can go tomorrow, because depending on how much propellant they've used to fill up Starship and Super Heavy here, I think it takes like 70 semi trucks full of, no, it takes a lot actually. Is it 70? It's on the order of more, it's a lot. It's a lot of semi trucks full of propellant to refuel the pad. So if they have used even, if they've used more than 50% of their LOX and methane, that's for the propellant loading, they have to refuel all of that with trucks. They literally wheel in nitrogen, liquid oxygen, and liquid methane trucks. And it takes like 70, I think, or maybe more than that. It takes a lot of trucks to do that. I don't know if they can refill the pad in that amount of time to do a turnaround in 24 hours.
40 again. And it's not something we can change with small config tweaks. So
there you
we
go.
are going to offload our prop.
There it is, chat.
And then try again another day. So we're able to
Scrub.
fully tank the
Official
vehicle.
scrub.
We're unable to lift off today. But just because we don't go today doesn't mean we're not going to go tomorrow or one of the days coming up. So
I'm expecting a 2-day turnaround.
Start offloading all of that propellant on the booster and the ship. As we talked a little bit earlier, we can go.
None of that is reused. It can be reused. That's part of what their recyclation system is. But you can also see it's venting a lot. So I don't know how much they lose in boil off, for example, and how much they lose just from having to constantly recycle and vent off and recycle and stuff like that. So yeah, part of it is reused. It just, I don't know how much. How efficient is it? Do they get back 100%? Doubtful. Do they get back 80? I have no idea. 10%? Yeah, I don't know.
And we'll share more information as it becomes available, including when our next launch opportunity is. So be sure to keep an eye on our SpaceX account on X. And as I said, we'll share more information as it becomes available.
All right. Thanks all for joining us today. We'll see you at the next attempt.
What a bummer. What an absolute bummer, chat. My goodness gracious. All of that playing with our emotions. Got us super excited for a launch. They said we were go. Then they ripped the rug from out from underneath us, and they said it could be possible. And then all of a sudden, no, we're done for the day. Space chat. The woes of space flight. But yeah, so that's going to be the end until we hear back from them on what the next potential launch time will be. Like I said, in the past that they've done this, it's been a two-day turnaround. Whether or not they could go tomorrow, I have no idea. Hopefully that would be absolutely amazing, but the last time they scrubbed on the pad like this, it was a 2-day turnaround. So we'll see. I guess there's nothing to it, but say that we will see. But anyways, chat, yeah, kind of a bummer. I was definitely hoping to get that flight in. So updates on our SpaceX account, or don't say Twitter, don't say Twitter, don't say Twitter. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But hopefully within a 2-day turnaround, either that'll be tomorrow or by Wednesday, we should see Starship Flight 8, unless something was really bugging out on Starship and Booster that requires them to, God forbid, destack and wheel it back and all of that. Then we're looking at a week turnaround. But anyways, there's a window in the 22.5 hours, I think. A window for what, Lava? Because they said, yeah, there's they technically have 24 hours before their next window opens. It could be as early as 5:30 p.m. tomorrow Central Time. But again, for pad turnaround and stuff like that, I have no idea. I think it would be, yeah, you would definitely say Twitter. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how fast they can turn around the pad, so we'll see. A launch window, yeah. So they said every 24 hours they have a launch window today for an hour, 24 hours from now, another hour launch window. I think they have it through the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So I think they have current launch opportunities all the way through the 6th, which is Thursday. So we'll see. They definitely have time. You think they would have gotten better fuel tanks for refueling in vehicles for it at this point? Well, they do plan on that, Raikon. They do plan on that, so I don't know if that's implemented yet. But there are definitely plans. Like Boca Chica Starbase, right, has been getting nothing but constant upgrades. not even just from their production facility, but also obviously from their pad infrastructure. They're building the entire second pad that's going to be filled or is going to be serviced by that single propellant loading station. So they're also developing their own propellant manufacturing site. So yeah, they're doing a lot. It's just a matter of how quickly can they move and when is it worth it for them. I don't really know why you need a launch window to put something in the Indian Ocean, because they want to hit, well, first and foremost, Lava Lamp, for licensing, launch licensing. You have to have a window. You can't just say, oh, you know, I'm going to launch somewhere in between the next 24 hours. No, because there are, you know, flight restrictions, there's FAA rules, there's probably even FCC rules for communications during that time that all have to be considered. And then they also want to land during early daylight hours in the Indian Ocean. So that way they can actually have visual cameras and visual recognition of what's going on during landing. So it's definitely interesting that they do have a flight window, but there's definitely reasons for that. But anyways, chat, unfortunately, I think that's going to have to do it for me for now. I got to get back to work. I cut out of work a little bit early here so we could stream this, but now I got to get back to work. And then I don't know if I'll stream tonight, because if this is going tomorrow, I guess we'll see. Because technically I'm supposed to stream tonight, but we streamed this early. I don't know. I'll see. Work is kind of bogging me down today, so I'll probably say no stream tonight, and instead we'll get back on streaming the next Starship launch or Wednesday, whichever happens first. Or if Starship and next stream happen to coincide on Wednesday, then beautiful, we'll do that. So anyways, have a wonderful evening, a good Monday, wherever you may be. And yeah, that's going to do it for me. Catch you next time. Hopefully with a launch. That would be great. Yeah, a launch. Let's do that. Let's do a launch next time.